They've been arrested. Okay. So finally, the other three bastards who murdered George Floyd, along with Derek Chauvin, they've all been arrested now, all four cops. Okay. Now let me read you this from the article over here. So Derek Chauvin charged upped to second-degree murder. 3 other cops charged. Okay, so not only did they arrest the other 3 cops, but they also gave Derek Chauvin a more severe charge. So just reading here to you, all 4 former Minneapolis Police Department officers involved in the killing of George Floyd have been charged with felonies. And Derek Chauvin, who kept his knees on Floyd's back and neck for 9 minutes, has been charged with second-degree murder. Okay, so the higher charge for Chauvin, who's been in police custody since last Friday, comes with a maximum sentence of 40 years in prison. The charge alleges Chauvin murdered Floyd, quote-unquote, without intent, but, quote, while committing a felony offense. Okay, so Chauvin continues to face a count of second-degree manslaughter. Legal experts had speculated the third-degree charge initially brought against Chauvin could be nearly impossible to prove. So you do remember that initially they only charged Derek Chauvin and they only gave him third-degree murder. That's the only charge they slapped on him. Now it's been up to second-degree murder, okay? And the other 3 have been charged with him. Now these other 3, their names are Tu Thao, Thomas Lane, and Alexander Kyung. They have all been charged with 1 count each of aiding and abetting a second-degree murder, which is a felony punishable by up to 40 years in prison, and aiding and abetting second-degree manslaughter, a felony with a maximum penalty of 10 years in prison and or a $20,000 fine. So I think, by the way, for Chauvin, okay, so I think initially the maximum sentence was 25 years. Yes? So they've upped it from 25 to 40. And they took their sweet time arresting the other 3, didn't they? I mean, I can assure you, and you don't need my assurance. If we were talking about just, okay, let's do this one by one. If these guys didn't have a badge and a gun, all 4 would have been arrested immediately. And if they were black, they probably would have been killed on the way to the police station, honestly. We don't know. And they would have been arrested faster than if they were just regular civilians. Okay, let's not sugarcoat this. We're not stupid. So, Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison, who tried to run for DNC chair, if you remember. Bernie Sanders endorsed him in 2016 for DNC chair. Keith Ellison, whose office has agreed to take over the prosecution from Hennepin County Attorney Mike Freeman, is expected to announce and discuss the new charges Wednesday afternoon. So, just to tell you something about that, okay, you can actually see him here. This is a long clip, but I'll just play you the first few seconds of it, okay? Just so you can see. This is like a 22-minute conference.
And that is that we're here today because George Floyd is not here. He should be here. He should be alive, but he's not. About 9 days ago, the world watched Floyd utter his very last words, "I can't breathe," as he pled for his life. The world heard Floyd call out for his mama and cried out, "Don't kill me." Just 2 days ago, when I became the lead prosecutor in the murder of Mr. Floyd, I asked for time to thoroughly review all the evidence in the case. And we looked at the evidence that's available, and the investigation is ongoing at this time.
You saw Keith Ellison reading out the charges just, a few hours ago. People already knew. You know why? Because Amy Klobuchar leaked it. Oh, yes. Yes, she did. She went on Twitter. Yeah. So she said, Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison is increasing charges against Derek Chauvin to second degree in George Floyd's murder and also charging other 3 officers. This isn't another important step for justice. Listen to me, man. What are you doing? Who asked you? She is the reason that Derek Chauvin was still walking around as a cop. She had like at least a dozen different occasions to prosecute him. She never did when she was DA. Her, Amy Klobuchar, this bitch reading you the tweet right now. This one saying, this is another important step for justice. Bitch, where were you? Where were you when you could have implemented justice? Decades ago. 2006. The stones on this bitch. I just, this is like, I don't think you can draw any parallel. It is what it is. If you can't see how messed up this is. And on top of it, she won't even let Keith Ellison, a black man, deliver the goddamn charges at the press conference. No. She has to go and leak it to try and make herself look good. After she fucking failed to hold these officers accountable. It's not just Derek Chauvin, by the way, huh? It's many cases of complaints of police brutality. At least a dozen of them over the years, and she did nothing about them. You know why? Because they protect themselves, okay? They protect each other. You think that because you had an encounter or because a civilian is murdered by a police officer that you can count on this officer to be held, up to the high standards of justice? Fuck no. Not happening. Because the DA will protect them. Yes, this is why we speak of a corrupt criminal justice system, right? And then even if they have charges brought against them, they'll get a slap on the wrist. It's not conjecture. I didn't pull that out of my ass. This is your history. And by the way, this is not just something exclusive to the United States. Let's not play games here. This is a worldwide thing. I know I am telling you from firsthand testimony, no pun intended. I've had this told to me from cops. They know that the judge is going to side with them in court. Okay? They know this. So they can get away with lying. They can get away with skewing reality. A black man was murdered in broad daylight, and it took them a week to arrest all 4 culprits. What more do you need me to say? And then she comes along, Amy Klobuchar, and acts like, she's a saint and that she cares about justice. Where was she when she could have implemented justice, huh? Where was she? Nowhere to be found. She gave them a blank check. She gave them a carte blanche and sent them on their merry way. That's what she did. Until what? Well, until George Floyd was murdered. And by the way, a Native American man was also shot and killed, an unarmed Native American man, by guess who? Derek Chauvin. I don't know the particular circumstances regarding that case, but again, an unarmed Native American man was shot and killed by Derek Chauvin. And like I said, this is over a dozen cases of police brutality by this police department, by Derek Chauvin implicated, and she did nothing. This is not listen to me. What's the point? Even if you buy this nonsense of a few bad apples, well, where's the checks and balances that they love to talk about in America to make sure that these few bad apples are held accountable? They're not there. You know why? Because the DA won't prosecute. The DA hears about the police brutality. They get the complaints. They see the bodies. And they're like, fuck it. Just go back out on the streets. Keep doing what you're doing. They're not there to hold cops accountable. They're there to give them a carte blanche, give them a blank check. They're there to okay their behavior, to okay their brutality. And this is not one case. This is not a dozen cases. This is a system. This is a system. Do you understand what we mean when we talk about institutionalized racism, institutionalized oppression towards blacks? It's at every single level of the fucking scale. It doesn't start with the cop on the beat. It also extends to on the way to the goddamn station to even get booked in the first place. You ain't even been booked yet. You haven't even been charged with a crime. You might get murdered because you're black. And then when you get to the courtroom, right? You have your day in court. Oh shit, you got no bail money. Guess what? Go back to jail because you're poor. Now stay locked up in there in this system that is going to make you even more violent. That is, I mean, it's going to turn you violent or make you even more violent if you even did anything at all. It's going to be a toxic influence. It's going to give you mental health issues. It's going to brutalize you. It's going to dehumanize you and humiliate you until you even get a date in court. And then guess what? The cops fucked you over. You're innocent. Don't fucking matter. They can lie and the judge will take their side. Yes, the fucking judge. This is even if they get charges brought against the cops by the DA. If you're lucky. Because you know why? They can murder you on camera and they fucking know it and get away with it. George Floyd is the exception that confirms the rule. Okay? Before George Floyd, we had Breonna Taylor. Just in recent history, I'm talking just the last few years, few months, the last few months. We had Breonna Taylor, did we not? We had Ahmaud Arbery. That was an ex-cop with his son walking around free for 3 months. No? You don't think his buddies, his former colleagues covered for him? And the DA, yes, the DA said, oh, well, you know, no charges. Just be on your merry way after you killed a man on video. I mean, this is, do you see why people have had enough? They've been having enough. And this Amy Klobuchar thinks that she's vice president material. Oh God. I mean, I guess she is, you know, you really do have to be a scumbag to be holding any kind of, office like that, don't you? You really do have to be a scumbag to end up in the Oval Office. So maybe she is vice presidential material after all. But anyway, my point here is I wouldn't hold your breath. No pun intended. These bastards that murdered George Floyd, you know what happened to Rodney King? You know what happened to him? I went back and I watched the video. For those of you who don't know, okay, so Rodney King was pulled over by a bunch of cops in LA and they beat the shit out of him. And guess what? It was on video. Not in 2020, not in 2012, not in 2002. No, this shit was in 1991. Yes, someone filmed it from their balcony. 15 minutes, they took turns beating the shit out of this guy. A group of cops, like 10 of them. No one went to jail. The 4 cops got acquitted. And that's why you had the LA riots, which we talked about the other day in regards to the Insurrection Act. So that's the last time it was invoked, right? Under Bush Sr. Don't hold your, don't get your hopes up that these cops will get the maximum sentence. Don't even get your hopes up that they'll be convicted of a crime. I can fucking assure you, their lawyers and the system itself, because remember, it's not just, oh, these 4 cops, they're so terrible, and now all of the police in the United States condemn them, and they want nothing to do with them. They want to make sure there's justice brought against them. No. You don't see how they're beating the shit out of you for speaking up against it? Every fucking state. You go outside to protest against that, They'll shoot rubber bullets at you. They'll kill you. They'll brutalize you. You don't care. You shut up. You have the police unions. You have police counties. You have county police departments all over the goddamn country behind these four bastards that killed George Floyd. All of them. There's immense political pressure here. Make no mistake. Head of the police union. We know what he wrote, that 2-page letter. What is it, from before yesterday? The only thing he had to say wasn't to condemn his fellow officers that murdered an unarmed black man in broad daylight. No. He's condemning the rioters, these looters that don't exist. Because, of course, people just loot and riot and protest for no fucking reason. As usual. It's not like you killed and you've been killing and, murdering blacks for centuries. No. What gave you that idea? How on earth did you ever get that idea? That's what the head of the police union had to say. He basically said, fuck you. We're going to keep killing you because we can get away with it. That's what happened. So there's immense political pressure. There is immense weight behind the police. And their lawyers are going to try tooth and nail to get these charges overturned and make sure it doesn't even come to a conviction. Right? They did it. They fucking did it with Rodney King. They didn't kill him, but they beat the shit out of him, all on tape, nothing. And besides Rodney King, what about all the other blacks that have been killed? Unarmed black men. What about Eric Garner? Dude, even under a black president, no one got sent to jail. 6 cops, 6. Not 1, not 2, 6 of them. Forget it, man. Don't get your hopes up. I'm sorry to say I'm being real here. And this is why next time somebody tells you to protest peacefully, you tell them to go and fuck themselves. All right? Just like they were peaceful when they fucking murdered George Floyd. End of story.